Hey everybody, Ethan here. Welcome to Hello Road. So this week I'm driving a Land Rover Defender 110, arguably one of the most capable off-road machines available for sale today. But the spec that I'm driving with its street-oriented tires is much more suited for commuting, driving to the mall, or dropping your kids off at school. And this being a Defender, I want to take it on some dirt roads and test out its off-road prowess, just like I did with the Lexus GX. But the tires here are just not really well suited for it. So there are many Defenders that regularly tackle serious off-road terrain, and a pavement-focused Defender may seem a bit like an oxymoron, but Land Rover knows that most drivers stay on the pavement something like 99% of the time, and there are plenty of affluent soccer dads and soccer moms that like the idea of a rugged go-anywhere machine, even if it will never travel further off-road than a local campground. So that's what I want to focus on today. Unfortunately, no off-road test for this particular Defender, but we'll take a close look at the luxury that we've got here, all of the cool design details, the seriously powerful supercharged V8 under the hood, and more. So this second generation Defender was introduced in 2020, and yes, I'm probably one of the last car reviewers to get to drive one. So when this thing was introduced, it was very clear that Land Rover was leaning on the vibe, the history, the utility, and the reputation of the original iconic Defender. There is nostalgia at play here with design cues that recall the original one, but of course this new one is light years ahead in terms of luxury, ride quality, handling, and some have said that this new one is even more capable in the dirt. Shocking, I know. The short wheelbase 90 is a unique Jeep Wrangler-like variant, and the somewhat awkwardly long 130 can be configured to seat up to 8, but this two-row 110 is probably the sweet spot for most buyers. So even though this platform has been around for a few years, it still looks and feels very modern, and there are a couple small updates this year. We now get synthetic leather instead of cow leather as standard equipment, and an 11.4-inch touchscreen and a Meridian audio system is now standard. And there's a new range-topping Octa model that comes with an even more luxurious interior and a twin-turbo V8, and it's something like $153,000. Your rich uncle probably wants one of those. So in terms of exterior design, yeah, I have to say that there's pretty much nothing that I hate about the design here. It's one of my favorite looking SUVs for sale today. The incredibly boxy shape means a ridiculous amount of utility, excellent interior and cargo space, and there's a lot of really neat design details all over the place. The cool grille patterns on the bumper, the vents on the side, the cross-hatch design on the hood, these chunky tow hooks. Although it does say Defender in a ton of places. We get it, Land Rover, it's a Defender. But overall, we've got rugged, purposeful, and I'd argue timeless looks. All right, let's pull over and take a really close look at this interior. So some people have said that the interior of the Defender isn't luxurious enough to be called a Land Rover, but I find it quite nice in here. It's not overly opulent, but it certainly feels luxurious to me. And there are some really nice design details here, like the exposed torque-style bolt heads, even though they do feel a bit over the top. I love the use of wood on this center console. I don't know if this is real wood right on the sides here, but I love the use of it. It looks really nice. Very nice, flat, chunky, straight across dashboard. Big chunky handle right on the front here. Lots and lots of storage space, which I appreciate. I think every vehicle needs to have a tray like this on the dashboard. This is a must-have. You can even put stuff behind the screen, even space off here to the left. Rubberized tray right down here in the center. Two decent-sized cup holders. We have the optional cool box in here. So this center console is pretty small, but if you want to keep some stuff cold, you can do it right there. Wireless charger for your phone, couple USB ports. Yeah, everything feels extremely solid and very well built. All right, let's talk about these seats. Now, I find them really comfortable. There's a lot of adjustability here on both the driver's side and the passenger side. They are heated and cooled. Yeah, I don't have any complaints here. Copious amounts of headroom in here, even with this panoramic sunroof. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna open that right now. Let's let some more light in. Now, in terms of legroom, it's actually quite good. Now, when I was testing out the Lexus GX, I was complaining at how narrow the driver area felt. This is a lot more luxurious. I'm not constantly hitting my knee up against the center console, though there is this little hump down here in front of the driver's seat, and sometimes I bang my feet up against it. Takes up a little bit of space. So in front of me is a very large steering wheel. It looks pretty nice. It's got this white insert, which I think looks pretty neat. It's got a few simple controls, volume slider, that kind of thing, and the steering wheel is heated. And behind the steering wheel is that really nice looking digital gauge display. Very simple, very clean, no gimmicks. There's a fair amount of configurability there. Now moving on to the center right here, you've got that 11.4-inch screen. It is actually kind of curved, which looks really neat. Screen's not too high, not too low. It seems to be positioned really well. The infotainment system works reasonably well. I like the fact that it's very simple and very clean. And of course, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. And the Meridian sound system sounds pretty good. I'm a fan. Now moving down below, you've got a mix of controls here, which is kind of interesting. You've got a smallish gear selector on the left. I like the fact that it doesn't take up a lot of space. And over here on the right, you sort of have a mishmash of controls. You got some climate controls here, got some controls for the auto terrain response. When you click this button, also allows you to select the ride height here. So these dials do have multiple functions depending on what button you've pressed. It's not my favorite, but you do get used to it pretty easily. And I like the fact that there's mostly physical controls here. Though you do have to go into the screen for some things, like to sync both sides of the climate control system. But overall, yeah, I really like the interior in here. It's very, very nice, super functional, very clean, loads of space in the back seat as well. Plenty of legroom, plenty of headroom. You got climate controls back there, you got USB ports, you got vents, rubberized floor mats all around, so if your kids got muddy shoes, not too hard to clean up. Latch anchors are very easy to get to. Front-facing or rear-facing car seat fits very easily back here. Here we've got a couple optional hooks for some of your fancy clothes that you like to carry around with you. Got these cool roof windows on the side and the back there, which don't really understand the point of them other than it's just kind of neat, kind of retro. And of course, loads of cargo space. Now, if you fold up the bottom portion of the rear seats and then fold the top, you do get a flat load floor. And this thing can gobble up all sorts of cargo. Being a box on wheels really helps in that regard. I'd say the only issue that's kind of an annoyance is that the rear door opens up sideways, which might be a bit problematic if you have a trailer connected, and it opens away from the curb for us here in the United States, which is a bit annoying. All right, let's spend a few minutes to talk about safety. So if you're spending this much cash, you fully expect to have a good suite of safety tech standard, and that's what you get here. We've got the usual suspects like emergency braking with pedestrian detection, adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, rear traffic monitor, and in general, the visibility out the side and the front is very good. The visibility out the back is a little bit limited because of that spare tire that's hanging off the edge of the vehicle, but this trim does give you the digital rear view camera, which is very useful. Blind spots directly in front of the vehicle are quite a bit greater than they would be if this were a sedan. Tall vehicles with protruding front ends can look pretty cool, but they are significantly more dangerous to anyone outside of the vehicle. And thankfully, we do have a really nice 360-degree camera with blind spot assist, and that works very well. And I mention this anytime I do a review of a large SUV. Owners of large vehicles like this should be aware of the greater danger they pose to others and drive accordingly. The Defender can be had with a turbo 4 or a turbo 6-cylinder engine, but here we have the burly, brawny, supercharged 5-liter V8 churning out 518 horsepower and 461 pound-feet of torque. So yeah, this large box on wheels is very quick. Have no issues getting up to speed on the freeway or passing. It's just stupid quick. 0 to 60 occurs in about 4.5 seconds. So yeah, overall, having this V8 is nice, but generally pretty excessive unless you're towing. And with this setup, the Defender is very capable in that regard. It can tow up to 8,200 pounds. But if you don't want to tow, I'd say you'd be perfectly fine with either of the smaller engines. So here we've got an 8-speed automatic transmission, and the shifts are smooth and predictable. And of course, power is being sent to all 4 wheels, and the Defender provides you with a 2-speed transfer case. We've got a bunch of different terrain modes here, and we've got the optional Terrain Response 2 system, which automatically adapts to the surface type. Here's all your different modes. Currently, I have it in dynamic mode because I'm on this curvy canyon road. So we've got air suspension, and we can go from normal height to off-road height in just a few seconds. And that off-road height allows you to ford nearly 3 feet of water, but I'm guessing by the looks of the terrain around here, I'm not going to come across much water today. It's very dry. We've also got a locking diff and hill descent control. And those are things that most people will never need on a regular basis, but it's reassuring for some to know that they are available. So with that air suspension and the adaptive dynamics that we got here, I have to say that the Defender handles a lot better on the pavement than I would have expected. So this curvy canyon road that I'm on right now is much better suited to something like a Mazda Miata or a Subaru BRZ, but the Defender doesn't have nearly as much body roll as I thought it would. The steering has a decent weight, and all of these little imperfections in the road are soaked up pretty easily. Perhaps it being unibody instead of body on frame has helped it a bit in this regard. So with this much power under the hood, you of course cannot expect good fuel economy. This V8 model returns 14 city, 19 highway, and 16 combined. But if you're spending well over 100 grand for a V8 Defender, spending a few extra bucks on gas likely isn't a concern for your wallet, but it might be a little bit of a concern for the environment though. And yes, we do have to talk about the elephant in the room here, at least as far as I'm concerned, these tires. Now, they're actually quite great for like 99% of the driving that you'll likely be doing, but this is a Defender after all, and I think if I was going to be paying this much money for off-road features, I'd sure as heck would want to use them. So this wouldn't be the tire spec for me. I'd want something that was a bit more suitable for trails. All right, so let's talk about how much all of this costs. So the two-door Defender 90 starts at about 57 grand. The three-row 130 starts at just under 70 grand. And this mid-tier 110 starts at 61. But we're at about $117,000 for this SE V8 with some options. Yes, that's very expensive, but what did you expect for a luxurious SUV with some of the best off-roading technology and chops on the planet? So in terms of direct competition, I'd say that the Lexus GX 550 is probably the closest match in terms of capability and intent. They both look awesome. They both can tackle tough terrain with ease. I'd say the Defender wins in terms of luxury, but buyers may look to the Lexus if they are a bit concerned with Land Rover reliability. You could also check out the Ineos Grenadier, which takes the original first-gen Defender looks and capability and brings it into the modern era. All right, so what's my verdict here? I love the design, I appreciate the unique details, and it's super practical with generous passenger space and a huge cargo area. A used Defender was on my short list when I was looking for a family SUV to tow our camping trailer. As much as I love the off-roading capability and potential here, I determined that a Defender is a bit overkill for my needs. So even though a lot of Defender owners actually do go off-road, the reality is that like 99% of the time, these SUVs get used for boring everyday stuff like commuting, going grocery shopping. Some people care about things like locking diffs and advanced terrain settings, but most are drawn to the Defender for its go-anywhere rugged looks, the gravitas, the outward expression, and the luxury. Vehicle purchases are often not rational. It probably doesn't make much sense for most people to own a vehicle with the level of off-road capability of a Defender, but that doesn't seem to be stopping anyone. And as it turns out, the Defender is really great at just about everything. It looks the part, it's great to drive, it's luxurious, it's practical, and with the right tires, it can tackle just about any terrain that you throw at it. So what do you think of the Defender? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much to Land Rover for giving me an opportunity to spend a week with this vehicle. It's gonna be hard to give up the sound of that V8, but not so hard to give up the reality of the fuel economy that you get with that V8. And next time I'll be sure to ask for a Land Rover that has some off-road tires because that's what I really wanted to do with this thing.